And this is an official start to our session, you guys. Welcome everyone again. So what are layout helpers? I'm going to just, as I usually do in these micro learning sessions, I just want to talk to these slides for just a couple of minutes. And then of course I'll be bouncing into DP2 and showing you how to get the job done using layout helpers, the calendar portion. So the developers designed layout helpers to make something easier relative to either creating or modifying a layout or an order item. They're KPL files in a particular location in the system, and then those appear to you in DP2 via a right-click menu in your layouts or order items. So we, Kodak Alaris, can write these KPL files that do something designed to help you with your layouts or your order items. You, of course, can write your own KPL code, or perhaps you could work with a third-party programmer that writes some code for you, again, designed to help layout creation and or order item creation become more efficient and easier. We started with calendars, so that's why I'm hosting this session to show you what we did with calendars. Our development team is currently working on a layout helper method way of creating composite layouts. So we're not ready to introduce that to you guys now. It's still being developed, but things look good so far to help you guys create your composite layouts in DP2 a little bit easier than the way we do it now. So it's all about improving the processes as we as the product matures, right? So I'm going to show you a couple of examples, some good calendar examples that I think cover most of what you might need. But as usual, you guys always tell us how you use it. So my examples won't be as beautiful as yours. My examples may not be as robust as yours, but we want you to take this information and twist it and turn it and apply it and implement it yourself. And of course, guys, please hit us up via the service portal with your questions, your training requests for one-on-one time with us, requests for features that might even improve the process more. So this is just kind of a way that we can open up the door with you on existing topics in DP2 and new topics in DP2 and say, hey, what else do you guys have? So please let us know. I want to start by going through some design options. There are many. Basically, the sky's the limit when it comes to you guys designing your calendars. And then I'll go through how to dynamically drive the content as far as what year it is, what the starting month is, and then subsequent months on your 12-up calendar or your 12-page book calendar, and how you can dynamically drive that content from your order entry systems that feed these calendar products, and the way you create them, refers to that content. I'll be showing you these in the system, just a variety of looks and feels, kind of defaults right out of the box that we have for you. Maybe a calendar that does not render any node lines like this one here on the left that I'm circling. Obviously, this is a 12-up calendar too. So maybe your remote ordering system feeds somewhere on this page the starting month. The user selects the year, the user selects the starting month. Maybe the starting month is January, maybe it's not, because they're ordering it mid-year and they want it to span a couple of years. So you can hide those nodes, you can prevent those nodes from rendering, but certainly you can use that content, the content that's coming into you on your products or your calendar book products, to drive the content on the page. This one here in the center, this April 2018, this one's rendering node box lines, some, only the ones that have days of the week. This last one is an example of node lines that have quite a bit of opacity, and rendering boxes for a balanced look on all of those. So we're going to do it. You guys have seen this guy before. I always use him. So if anybody has another image that represents this concept of let's do it better than this guy, send it to me, and I'll start incorporating another image onto this slide when I get to this portion of my presentations. It just is a good image to visually represent that whole concept of let's do it. So here I am in DP2 now. So that was just a screenshot of some of the same products that I'm showing you here. These are high-res files. In fact, I'm displaying these at high res. In fact, the more I zoom in, the better it looks, because unlike the preceding way of doing calendars in DP2, you guys, we did have a method. I'm not so sure many of you were using it, but we weren't using DP2's sophisticated rendering power and capabilities. So the comments that we did get from those of you that perhaps were using our now legacy way of doing calendars, I'll show you that way. It might be familiar to you guys, it might not, but let me just go to a properties dialog box here and show you this effects. I think it's this, where is it? This, right here at the bottom of the screen. I'm circling it now. I have a big blue cursor. Some of you might be able to see my big blue cursor, or you might see a black cursor dancing around your screen. But we used to make a call here in this effects field to a script file that did a lot of automatic things when it comes to rendering calendar content on your screen. You had some control of it, but it wasn't a user interface friendly way of controlling what your calendar looks like, and colors and fonts and all sorts of sophisticated things that you can now do. So, we're calling this, if you don't remember it, that's fine. This might be the first opportunity for you to work on calendars inside of DP2. Like I said, we don't know that necessarily many of you were using what is now the legacy way anyway. So this is a good example. I'm actually going to build this one when I get to the process of showing you how to build a calendar like this from scratch. This is the drill, you guys. I normally show you some end result type examples, and then I always backtrack and show you how to build it yourself, and you'll have the video to go back to see it. So just some differences that I want to point out here visually, and these are the differences that I'll help you guys build some muscle memory with during this session, and show you the tools that you use, and the clicks and undos and refresh and all sorts of functions that you use to make this happen and build your own calendars. So on this one, I'm using a different font that drives the font on the entire calendar. I'm using some node lines, even for those days that do not contain day content. On this one over here, let's see what I did. I increased the size of the month. July 2018 is a percentage. It's a relative size to the entire size of the month. Even the days of the weeks, I made those larger from a relative perspective to the entire month. Obviously, different fonts being used, different background colors in the month and the days of the week. I can't stress enough, although I will try during the course of this session, to let you guys know from a design perspective, the sky is the limit. And let me show you what I what I mean by that. I'm going to show node boxes on this 12 up calendar. Give me 1 second. I'm in high res mode, and things slow down a little bit when we're broadcasting via WebEx. But take a look at this. Are you ready for it? I'm going to show node boxes just to show you there's a lot of nodes on this 12 up month calendar. And you know what? Because there's a lot of nodes, a node for the month, a node for each day of the week, a node for each box that holds the value for the day, a node box for each value of the day. Because of the way the developers designed this, you guys, just like with most of DP2, they certainly designed it for maximum flexibility. Now, do you really have to worry about dealing with these nodes on a one-off individual basis? Absolutely not. I'm going to show you the interface, the user interface control, and you can set some of these parameters very easily in a very friendly user interface, and you're off and running. But my point here is if the user interface controls don't get you the look and the feel and the design of your calendar that you want, well, then you can just start making individual changes in your nodes, maybe a font justification change, or you know, maybe some nodes have colors behind them where others don't. I've seen calendars where Saturday and Sunday have some shading in those columns, so to speak. So, you know, that's an example of a user interface control that we don't have for you, you know, just to like shade out the Sunday column and the Saturday column. But just because we don't have a user interface control to give you that look and that feel, well, because you can access any and all of these nodes that you want. You can drag your styles onto nodes that are selected. You know, you guys, you can use all of your very well-known DP2 design tools that you're familiar with and implement those on your calendar designs as well. So with that being said, I am going to get to really the heart of it. Consider that really overview information. So if you are going to watch the video again and you want to get to kind of the substance of how to do it, well, you can just go by that entire part. And then I'm going to start with this empty shell, I'll call it, of a calendar. And I will kind of start the default design process from here. So just a quick check-in, you guys, you doing okay? Can you give me that hands up? Everything so far so good? Great. I just always like to check in with you, and remember, if you have questions, type them in the question box. I'll get to those at the end of the session, probably by tomorrow sometime, and put together a Q&A. I'll open up the phone lines at the end. I might be able to answer your question, maybe not, so I'll put it in the form of a Q&A and send it out to everybody that's in the call. So I did save myself some time, you guys, on this 12-up calendar. I do have a few design elements, like the, you know, obviously the large image at the top of the 12-month. I'll explain these other nodes. Well, I have the Kodak Alaris logo here as well. So I'm going to use this tool. Maybe you're familiar with it, maybe you're not, this Create New Nodes tool. This has been in DP2 for a very long time. In fact, it used to be a long time ago, before patterns and new composite layouts were added to the mix. I don't remember what that version that was, but this was how we built composite layouts, image and text nodes before we improved the process with patterns and layouts. And, you know, all these years later, we're now interested in, you know, improving the process even further for you guys, but we're working on it right now. This is a great tool to build your proof products with, you know, a number of rows, a number of columns, image and text boxes. So, and this tool is a fantastic way to put 12 nodes on the page in rows and columns that fall underneath the top margin. So I basically have this dialog box set up in a manner that when I hit apply, it will apply 12 nodes based on the criteria that's in here. 4 rows, 3 columns. So I'm very well, from a design perspective, prepared to show you guys the calendar tool. So, you know, and even something like that might pose a question. That tool, I right-clicked and it's here, guys, Create New Nodes. So this time I'm going to right-click, which I did, and I'm going to go to Layout Helpers. This is where you can find the Layout Helpers right-click menu on your products. There'll also be a Layout Helpers function on the right-click menu of your order items as well. So this is where I'm going to hang out for the rest of the session. This calendars layout helper, create month, will launch it. This is currently under construction in our system. You guys will not have this under construction piece of calendar underneath calendars in your system. So you're seeing a more recent build of DP2 that the developers are currently working on. But you will have this create month dialog. So I'm going to open this up, and just want to point out that you do have a help file. You can access it right from the insert calendar month nodes dialog box. That'll open up the DP2 help file. You can find it right inside of our help contents for what's new in 20.1, 2, and 3. There is a layout helpers link there that does take you right to calendars, because we're not ready for prime time with any additional layout helpers, so it does take you right to the calendar section. I'm going to cover both of these today, the concept of creating a 1-month calendar that in combination with others may be used to create a calendar book. So the help file is in here to help you. Obviously, this video is in here to help you. And I'm also covering this next scenario of a 12-month calendar poster product like the one I'm doing with the image on top. So you can use that help file and use this video, guys, to put all the pieces together. But I think what these sessions try to do anyway, and I've used this terminology before, is just kind of make you conceptually familiar with the content and even also build some muscle memory so that when you get in there, you can, more easily and more readily start clicking around, and it will be maybe not second nature to you. That's really not the goal of these sessions, is to make it second nature where you don't have to try it or test it or learn anything else, but it's designed to give you hopefully a good working experience, at least visually in here, so that you could try it yourself. All right, so if I don't put anything, this is the first node that I have selected here out of 12. You guys can see that that is selected. If I don't talk to you guys at all about what year is it, what month is it, what offset is it, if I were to just take these default parameters out of the box and say insert new nodes, well, it's going to know what month and year it currently is. That's what it will use, is the current month and year. And, it'll create based on the parameters that I have set up in here. It will create that first month. What I did, by the way, is I right-click. I'm such a creature of habit, right? I right-clicked and I selected Show Node Boxes. Well, our friend Tom Aplin, who wrote, I think, most of this, enabled this handy little shortcut for us to enable or disable the node boxes on your page. It makes it a lot easier to see the design that you're creating. But maybe that's not the look and feel that I want, so I'm just going to kind of get you accustomed to these tools. And this is kind of the overview that I feel like I needed when someone first showed me, is just show me what I can do, how I undo it, how I do something different. Just kind of show me how this tool works from a design perspective first. So that's what I'm going to do here, you guys, and kind of run through some likely scenarios. And I can start at the top and just show you things like margins. I'm going to leave these empty for now, because if I don't put anything in the initial year or the initial starting month or any offset, so if I leave these first nodes empty, as I insert new node, I'm going to get this starting month, which is, April. So I'll just leave that out of it for now and just do some different designs for you here. There's tooltips. This drives the height of the text box to display the month and the year. Well, maybe I don't want the month and the year, right? Because if this big 2018 up here is going to render, which it likely is on a 12-month up calendar like this, then I might not also want to display, April 2018 like I did the first time down here. So anything that I want to try there, I'll select that node, insert new nodes, and now I no longer have the 2018 in here, but I just have the April, and I'll undo that as well. In fact, these controls across the whole line will apply to that month, how tall it is, the height of it. These are defaults 0.4, the sample I showed you when I first switched over to DP2. I think I probably had close to an inch maybe on the height of the month, so you can change these height values. The color, of course, that can be driven, just from your color palette here. I'll just do this quite a few times, you guys. Insert new nodes, you're going to see the result of that. I'm going to undo it. The other way to drive your content would be with styles. If you guys need help with styles, certainly let us know. You can, the color will be driven here. The rest of what's in the style will be driven from, for example, maybe your font, shadow, or whatever else might be a part of that style. So you can select this particular style has a script font. You can see it has a background color behind that month node. So I'm sure, I'm going to take a guess that you're already getting the concept here. I do have to undo it, each time as I'm making changes. I'm going to undo that first one. And this is why I'm showing you this kind of just on the first one for now, because it's really a good idea to kind of get your overall design down pat. Do you want lines? Do you not want lines? Do you want colors? Do you not want colors? What fonts do you want? Do you want to drive different parts of your calendar based on these styles for month, for days of the week, for the day text and size? So you see those 3 lines there. And then you have the position of, I'll zoom in one here, guys, so you can see it a little bit closer. So you have the position. Right now that number is being rendered in the upper left-hand corner of those day nodes. I'll undo that again. I'm going to show you, I'm going to jump to the bottom. You can choose a font down at the bottom here. I'm going to choose this script font actually, and I'm going to make sure that the right node is selected. As you're playing around with this, you'll commonly select the entire background, maybe that's what's selected, right? And when you hit insert node, then your calendar takes up that whole background space. So it's common that you might not have the right node selected when you hit that insert node. Again, turning node boxes off is really handy to see what your design for that particular month actually looks like. So I'm going to just do one. Oh, look at what I did. I did insert node. I did exactly what I said happens very easily, right? I had my background selected. I hit insert node instead of undo. Well, now I get to show you something else, so it's pretty cool. So I'm going to undo that. Let me see if I undo this again. It won't undo. Yeah, so this is a good one. Oh, it did undo that one, actually. So I know I have something else to show you, but I don't have the opportunity right now. So what do I want to do? I want to show you this stroke. I think these are common, sure, these are common calendar creation design options, changing colors, changing fonts, changing sizes, where the day gets rendered. I didn't talk about gaps. I don't have any gaps between the days on my calendar. But these stroking options that we have for you, these are really good. So you might want to stroke all of the days of the week and maybe add some opacity there. And I'll insert that here. And then I'll turn off the node boxes. So, I think the idea, guys, in the first one, whether it be the first one of your 12-page book calendar product, or whether it be the first month on a 12-up calendar like this, generally the first order of business for you guys is just to get to know from a design perspective what's friendly and capable, what you're capable of doing inside of this, user interface. But remember this, I said it before, these are nodes, right? So if we don't give you the ability in this dialog box, for example, to just color shade the Sunday column and the Saturday column, well, you could start doing those types of things just by, building in parameters into the nodes themselves. And if you guys know how to use styles, I'll be using styles. I'll show it to you a little bit later. You could select multiple columns on multiple month calendars, and you could drag, one of your styles up here. I think I actually do have one I might be able to pull in that does something. I'm not really sure. Actually, I'll apply it without the image and text, and I'll see what that does here. Yeah, so so I had a style in here that affects just the background of that numerical value inside of that day. So it looks like there's a gray, very light gray background color, and also the text color as well. So between the user interface, between your styles, by the way, if now you wonder how to create a style, if you're not using them in your workflow, you basically build what you want inside of a node, from color, font. Styles can be image nodes, styles can be text nodes, styles can be both image and text nodes. You right click, you create a style. I strongly you give it any name that you want. I strongly recommend that you put it in a styles category, or else they might be sprinkled all throughout your products table and you don't necessarily know where to go when you want to take one and drag it and drop it onto a whole lot of nodes. So we think most of the design capabilities are probably here inside of the dialog box, but I just did want to expand it and show you guys that if this user interface and all of the color and fonts and styles and size options and line options, if all of these parameters don't get you what you want in your design, well, remember, everything's a node over here, so you can go for it. I want to show you this too. If undo, now I've only been working on, you know, kind of 1 month at a time. So actually that undo did the undo of the style. And this next undo did, I'm not really sure, oh, that undid the calendar. So I'm still not in a scenario where I can show you guys, and I even undid some of my other nodes. I think I did anyway, yeah. All right, so let me build these nodes back up. I'll show you this again, create new nodes. I have this dialog keeps all of my parameters, so it's easy for me to build those back in. All right, now I'm gonna start combining. So let's say I know what I want it to look like. I'm gonna use a couple styles because I like the colors and I like the lines, so I like how I've set this up. Now this time I can say I want the first month to be January, all right? And I can, of course, insert a new node, and this month is going to be January, of course, using all the parameters that are in here. I come over here, I increase the month offset, and I insert nodes over here, and this is February, and I think you get the drill, so on and so forth. So I will not, I promise you, because you're probably saying, Kathy, we do not need to see you create the entire calendar. I promise you I will not do that. So I could be using, you know, undo. Let's say I made a mistake and I, you know, went too many here and I didn't get this subsequent month or something like that. Of course, I could be using undo there. I just want to show you another way, you guys, of, let's see, this undo, we'll just keep on going back and forth. So I'm kind of having a hard time showing you this method, so I'm just going to show you. Let's say that your undo kind of really doesn't take care of undoing this last calendar operation. This is a really good one for you guys to make a mental or even a physical note of, is to select the first node in this month, January, hold down your shift key and select the last one, and then just hit your delete key on the keyboard. And that way you can delete all of those nodes. Guys, I think there's 70 plus nodes on that month because everything's a node, right? You can get down to the node level and make any changes that you want, especially if this, you know, friendly user interface doesn't cut it for you and you're not be able to get to the design that you want. So again, that was a shift control, a click to select the first month up here, the month name, shift, click to the bottom, and then hitting delete. But of course use undo, you know, if you can. So this is one way to get to, let me undo that. Let me do this January, February, March thing again. So I'm going to do 0 offset, start with here, insert the new node. That's January. I'll increase this, insert the node here. This is February, and so on. You get the drill. But again, I want to talk to you about, so that's kind of the design portion. I hope I've kind of introduced you enough to the user interface here where you guys can have some fun and get dangerous with these tools. Get yourself maybe into a little bit of trouble with these tools. And then of course hit us up on the service desk and ask us, how can I do this? How can I do that? This is designed to whet your appetite, right? But it's not designed to be be all end all to your calendar design needs and questions. So please hit us up. Let this spark that interest in your appetite. So you could continue to build the calendar like this, but if you want to dynamically build it, let's talk about that, because this is really cool and probably the most common way that you guys would use the tool. I think it was still undoing something there. I'll undo these. Bear with me during this. I at least wanted it to be in high res so we could see more of the content as I was rendering this. So that's not taking too long though. Just doing a good job. Oh, what did I do there? I probably inserted new node instead of undoing. So maybe this is good for it to be in the video and for you to see this, because it will happen. It will most definitely happen when you do it yourself. So why not let me trip over it more than once so you can see it in here too. So here's the year, right? 2018. Maybe in your ordering interface, your customers select what year it is, and they select what starting month they want for the calendar. That seems to be a common way in ordering interfaces for users to select the year and the starting month. So you can indicate over here in the insert calendar month dialog box what month, or what node rather, is the initial year. So when I select the node over here, this dialog knows that it's node 10,013. So I just hit the button and it now populates that node into here. And now this, I'll open it up. It's set to 1, so that could be the field that is receiving the dynamic content from your order entry system, because they want it to start with January. So I hit this button over here and it knows that's node 10,015. So now that's the starting month. But maybe, you know, from an ordering perspective, well, maybe it's the month of May. So we'll put a 5 in here and no offset, and then come down here and insert new node, and I think you get the drill. Well, now that's driving the initial month, and then these other months will just subsequently hit those up with a month offset of 1 for June and so on for July. And again, I won't keep going and going because that's probably a little bit overkill. I think you guys get the idea. Another way to do it would just be to use one field that contains both the month and the year. So I'll show you guys that as well. How is everybody doing though? Can we do a check-in? Can you give me a hands up to let me know that you're okay with this, guys? All right, great. What I'm gonna do now, just because I think we probably have, and I'm gonna switch gears and go to the book. So I'm gonna put the hands down. And what I'll do now is, if anybody wants to give me a hand raise now, what I'll do is I'll open up your phone line and you can ask me a question live if you want about anything that I've talked about so far. Of course, you're welcome to just enter your questions in the box, but I thought I'd pause here for a second, guys, before I show you the book method and see if anybody has. I'm just slowing down to scroll through all your names actually to see if anybody's given me a hand raise, and I'll open up your line. All right, well that tells me, you know, either you don't have any questions now or you haven't tried it yourself yet, obviously, to get all the questions formed and storm that you're gonna have relative to this. So let me close this. I'll save it along the way. And then I'm gonna open up for you guys. And after this, I'm going to switch into fastest mode, because I think hopefully you guys heard me say that we're using DP2's power and sophistication of rendering. That's one of the reasons that we switched to this layout helper, is to get you some real good quality rendering capabilities in your calendar, which in our legacy way now was not using DP2's sophistication when it comes to rendering. So again, that's why maybe you were not using this now legacy way that I showed you in the effects field and properties for creating your calendars. So I'm going to open up a couple of book pages that I have. So I did switch into fastest mode. So as I zoom in, if things start to break apart, don't worry about it. I just kind of wanted to move at a little bit of a faster clip through here. So these pages, these individual calendar book pages, obviously the scenario I just ran through with you guys was a 12-month up, 12 by 18 calendar. I don't know how big these pages are, but you know, kind of that's the book concept here, obviously. I have a macro in here inside of this text node. And by the way, I didn't show it to you on the last one, so let me show it to you here. You probably are aware of this function in DP2 to not render or not print. If you don't want it to render, I don't even have mine set, so actually it would render and print because I didn't even have those turned on for this, so I think I had them turned on in the order item. I've been kind of bouncing around. But if you don't want these fields that you use to drive your content, right, to dynamically drive what year it is and what month it is and where to find those values in your database or where to accept those values from a remote ordering system, then you wouldn't want these nodes that you're just kind of strategically using to drive things like starting month, starting year. You wouldn't want those to print. So I'm pointing those out to you guys on your image node properties. Don't print does what it says, it wouldn't print. Don't render would not render it to the screen. So use those accordingly, you guys. But obviously, if you're just borrowing this content to drive dynamically the results of your calendar, you would not want that to print. I don't even need this one here. This would drive the starting month, but I wanted to specifically point out to you that you can do both in one node. And I mean, this could store, for example, this could store January 2018. But now we're kind of taking it another layer deeper for you guys, where you can store a macro in here that looks in a field in your database that is getting fed from probably, you know, a script externally, or an ordering system that feeds in. You know, for example, in this case, I'll show you this field on an order item. It feeds in month and year. Actually, this is kind of two-sided. This is a macro that says either use a field in the database that contains month and year, in my case, or if that field in the database is empty, well, then just populate, you know, use the current year, use the current month, and generate the calendar based on the current month and the year. So this is an either or macro here. I wanted you guys to have this one in the video because it's a really good one for your calendar book products to do it either way. Either you storing your month and year in a field, or you know, doing it based on the current year, and then offsets that you build. So let me go back to, did I close? I do want to close. I want to point this out to you guys too. You want to, each time you open up a new product, you want to make sure that you have also reopened up your insert calendar month nodes, or else this will still be trying to communicate with the previous node on the previous product that you guys were creating your calendar nodes onto. So that can get a little confusing, but you guys know your way around DP2 enough where I'm sure you could get past that pretty quickly. So in this case, this is what contains, so I'm going to select that node and select that as the you know, initial content, initial year content. And because in this case it contains both the month and the year, I wouldn't need to use this initial month. And if I were to come down here, and if I were to create from a manual perspective, see, I'm using that shift select range, guys, to select again this month, shift select the last node down here, and I'm deleting the calendar nodes, but I'm not deleting this node that houses it all. It's an image node. You could put images behind, you know, the days and months so that the image would appear here. So now if I insert a calendar into here, well, as expected, this is April 2018. Now notice in this case, because I'm not rendering this node, again, I really don't need this node the way I'm describing it to you now. I don't have month only being rendered. I have month and year, which is the likely scenario for your 12 month products. So this is how you would design potentially your first page of your calendar book. So let me close and save this. And then this is the second page here. I've already created these, so I'm just kind of backtracking you guys and showing you. So this contains the same macro because it's going to look in the database in this banner field in the book attributes. I haven't shown you that table yet, but I will. So I'll go through this again. I'm just going to delete what's already here. I'm only showing you this for design's sake. I'll right click, show you how to get back to that layout helper again. And in this case, that's the initial node to look at to drive the content. In this case, both month and year. I'll offset that by 1. I'll accept the defaults that are in here and insert. And now obviously I'm off and running on the next month. But that's just because I'll show you in the database. So let me save this. And we're approaching just the end here, you guys. I have one more thing to show you. Now I've already dragged this book up into the order items table. So I'm right clicking. I'm going to the books right click menu and I'm going to book attributes so that I can show you this is where, when the jobs are rendered, that this, in this case, June 2018 will be the starting value from an order item perspective. So this assumes that you're feeding this data into DP2 from an external system. You're feeding this banner text field inside of this books table. I think this is already open down here. So here's the first one, you know, driven by that June 2018. Here's the second page, you know, because I had already created it with that +1 set of instructions. Oh, guys, this one must be open too. I'm sorry. So this one's down here and so on and so forth. So I know it's a lot of information, you guys. It is 1:45. I am kind of a stickler on staying on time with these micro learning sessions because we do promise to get you back to work. Yay, just what you want to do, right? In a timely fashion. But I will offer this last thing before we go. If anyone wants to give me a hand raise now, I will open up your phone line and I will address your question the best I can, or ask somebody else on the line to help, or get some help from one of the programmers and write everybody up a response if I need to. So I'm slowing down so I can see if any of you want to come on the line and ask any questions. Or if not, I hope you're saying that now you have enough information to go try it and create some trouble and create some good stuff and maybe get yourself wrapped around a couple of these pieces where you need some help or guidance or advice. And we certainly invite you guys to hit us up via the service portal, and we are here to continue to help you make sense of this. I just want to give an official thank you for being here, you guys. Have a great rest of the day, and we will hook up with you guys again soon. Take care.